Hey, David Wallman here. Today we're talking about these notes that you should probably land on if you want to sound great. We are talking about landing on these notes that make a whole difference when you're playing blues, and I'm not just talking about the notes of the good old pentatonic scale, although we're going to use that scale as a skeleton. Now that skeleton is always going to work. Oh, we heard that one before, right? And that's great. You can improvise hours with that one. But what happens when I take the backing track off? You don't really know where you are, right? That's a sign that your improvisations are very much directed by your comfort zones. You know, the licks that you're used to playing, the bends that you're used to bending. You know, this one, this one. The way to fix that is to create a blues solo improvisation that almost stands on its own without a need for the backing track. And so for that, we're going to visualize our chords in one simple area zone of the fretboard. I'm pointing at this one because that's where the first position of the minor pentatonic scale lives. So we're going to work in that position. We have an A7 here, you know, the bar chord. If you know your caged system, this will be the E position. And then we have a D7 right here, which will be the A position in the cage system. And then we have an E7 right here. Our first step is to isolate each of these three chords and start jamming over them. Well, we're pretending that we're jamming over them because we're just on our own, no backing tracks here. And we're going to land on one of the notes of our chords. Now you notice that some notes of my chord shape are also found in my first position of the minor pentatonic scale. Those are probably not the notes that you want to land on, because if you do, well, it's going to sound like this. You don't know where you're at because the notes are not really characteristic of that chord. So you want to find notes that are really in that chord and not found in the minor pentatonic scale. We have this one right here, for example, which is on the 3rd string, 6th fret. So we can start creating simple licks that will land on that note. Take the next chord, and again, within that next chord here, I'm on D7. From the 5th string to the 1st string, we have frets 5, 7, 5, 7, 5. Some of the notes are, again, in that first position of minor pentatonic scale. We're going to avoid those. But this one, for example, 2nd string, 7th fret is not, so we can land on that one, because that'll be a good indication to the listener's ear that, okay, something is happening here, we're changing. And the same can be done with that 3rd chord, the E7, which on the 5th string we have frets 7, 6, 7, 5, and land on one of those notes from the D for the E7. Let's bring in the backing track, minor pentatonic, and land on one of those notes whenever the chord happens. Back to A. The D, combined with some of those slower licks, it makes a huge difference. I have 5 of these right here, 5 very simple, slow pentatonic licks that sound awesome. Check out this video, explore what they can do for your playing, and I'll meet you right there.